All right, diving into Bharti Airtel Ltd today. You guys send over a ton of info, financial data, company insights, market analysis, the whole shebang.
Looks like someone's been doing their homework.
Big time. So we're going to break it all down, figure out what makes this telecom giant tick.
Beyond just the headlines, right?
Exactly. Get ready for some surprises along the way, especially when we get to that dividend payout and some of the cons, the data flagged.
Oh, yeah, those are
And
interesting.
of course, got to see how Airtel stacks up against the competition. But first, big picture. Airtel's reach is pretty massive, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They're not just in India anymore. We're talking 18 countries, including Sri Lanka and a huge chunk of Africa.
Way more than just your average mobile phone company. I mean, they're into broadband, direct-to-home TV, even banking. What's the strategy behind this diverse portfolio?
Risk management, plain and simple.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. It helps them weather economic storms, industry shifts. Think of it like a balanced investment portfolio.
Spread the risk. Makes sense. All right, time to zoom in on some numbers. Market cap. We're looking at 9,027,314 crores. Stock price, 1,550.
And a PE ratio of 65.4.
That seems kind of high, no?
It's on the higher side for sure. It usually means investors are pretty optimistic about future earnings growth.
Like they're willing to pay a premium because they think it's going to become even more valuable down the line.
Exactly. But, that expectation has to be backed up by performance.
Well, let's see if the performance matches the hype. Our data sources have flagged some pros and cons here, starting with a definite pro, that 42.8% dividend payout.
Can't argue with that.
Investors love getting a nice chunk of profit back.
They do.
But does that payout seem sustainable, given some of the other numbers?
That's the million-dollar question. High dividend payout is great, but it needs to be sustainable long-term.
Right.
So we need to look at cash flow, profitability, overall financial stability. If those are strong.
Then it could be a sign of confidence in future earnings. Okay, on to the cons then. First up, stock is trading at 10.1 times its book value. Time for a quick finance lesson.
Yeah.
What does book value even mean?
Okay, imagine Airtel shuts down today. Sells off everything. Towers, equipment, brand name, everything.
Fire sale.
Pretty much. Uses the money to pay off all their debts. Whatever's left over. That's basically the book value.
Like their net worth.
Exactly. Now, the fact that it's trading at 10.1 times that book value means the market thinks the company's worth way more as a going concern.
Than what its assets would actually fetch if they just liquidated.
Right.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Sounds like investors are optimistic.
It's tricky. On one hand, it shows confidence in their growth potential. Investors think they can generate much higher returns by keeping the business running. But it also means the stock's pretty expensive if they don't live up to those expectations.
The stock price could take a hit.
Yeah.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah.
Got it. What about this next con? It says, company has a low interest coverage ratio. Yeah, that doesn't sound promising.
No, not really. It basically tells you how easily they can pay the interest on their debt.
So low ratio means?
Means they might be a little stretched financially if interest rates go up or their earnings take a hit. They could struggle to meet their obligations.
So those dividend payouts might not be as secure as they seem?
It's a factor, yeah. If they have to dedicate a big chunk of their earnings to debt, it limits their ability to invest in growth, maintain those dividends.
Makes sense. Last con on the list. Company has a low return on equity of 11.3% over the last 3 years. How bad is that?
Well, return on equity, or ROE, it's basically a measure of how efficiently they're using the money invested by shareholders to generate profit.
Like a report card.
Yeah, exactly. 11.3% isn't terrible, but it's not amazing either. It suggests there might be room for improvement in how they're managing their investments, operations, maximizing returns.
So we've got this picture of a company with global reach, ambitious expansion plans, but also some potential financial vulnerabilities.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag at this point. That diversification strategy is interesting, and that dividend payout is tempting.
For sure.
But those low ratios, they do raise some flags. Before we jump to conclusions, though, I'd want to dig deeper into their financial statements, see how these numbers have been trending over time. A single snapshot can be deceiving.
Right. The trends tell the real story. Okay, so next step is to understand that story behind the numbers. But before we get into the nitty-gritty financials, let's zoom out for a second. Look at Airtel's position in the market. The data mentions they're part of major indices like the BSE Sensex and Nifty 50,
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal.
like the Hall of Fame for Indian companies, right?
Absolutely. It's a sign of recognition, stature. Being included in those indices means they're considered one of the most important, influential companies in the country.
But how do they fare against other telecom giants? Especially on a global scale. I'm curious to see how they stack up against the competition.
It's a tough landscape out there. You've got Vodafone Idea right there in India, MTN Group making waves in Africa, and of course the international heavyweights like China Mobile.
Airtel's got their work cut out for them.
Right.
It's not just about being a big fish in the Indian pond. They're swimming with sharks on a global scale. Our data mentions a comparison table. Doesn't go into specifics, though. What are some of the key factors you'd look at when comparing Airtel to its competitors?
Well, first, subscriber base and market share in different regions. Then, got to look at revenue growth and profitability, see how their financial performance stacks up. And of course, we can't ignore technology, 5G and all that. How's Airtel investing in that compared to the competition? Are they leading the pack or playing catch up?
Sounds like we're about to dive into a telecom showdown.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get ready to rumble.
One thing that really jumps out when you compare Airtel to the competition is their aggressive push into 5G.
5G, it's like the buzzword of the century. Everyone's promising these crazy fast speeds, lower latency, a whole new world of connected devices.
Right.
It's a lot. What's Airtel actually doing to make all that happen? Are they just throwing money at it, or is there like a real strategy?
Oh, they're definitely investing heavily.
Yeah.
But it's strategic. I mean, they were one of the first to actually roll out 5G services in India, and they've been scooping up spectrum.
Spectrum, like radio waves and stuff.
Yeah, basically, like buying the airwaves that carry those 5G signals, it's essential infrastructure.
So they're securing their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
But okay, infrastructure is just the first step. How do they actually make money from 5G? It can't just be about offering faster internet packages, can it?
Nope. Got to think bigger. Airtel needs to create this whole ecosystem of services, things that really leverage 5G's capabilities.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about applications that need real-time data transfer, like remote surgery or self-driving cars. Or imagine millions of people streaming, I don't know, super high-def videos at the same time with zero lag.
Okay, that's when I'd be impressed.
Exactly. Those are the kinds of things that can justify charging a premium and drive some serious revenue growth.
So they're kind of building the roads for a future that we don't even fully understand yet. What specific areas are they focusing on with this whole 5G ecosystem?
From what I've seen, it's multi-pronged. They're partnering with all sorts of companies, healthcare, manufacturing, entertainment, trying to develop those 5G-powered solutions. But they're also investing in their own platforms, like Airtel Xstream for streaming, Airtel IoT for connected devices. It's like they're casting a wide net, seeing what sticks.
Smart move. Explore those different avenues, especially in such a rapidly changing market. Makes you wonder, though, with all this investment in 5G, how are they managing their debt? Remember those interest coverage ratios?
Yeah, not great. You're right to bring that up. Cutting-edge tech is expensive. It puts a strain on the balance sheet.
So they're walking a bit of a tightrope.
They are. Got to balance those ambitious plans with responsible financial management.
Well, they do have a strong presence in India.
That's true.
And that's a market that's just exploding. Huge demand for data.
Exactly. If they can really monetize 5G in India, it could be a game changer.
A calculated risk. Betting big on 5G, but also banking on India's potential. And of course, they're not alone in this race.
Right. How does Airtel's 5G strategy compare to the competition? Are they ahead of the curve or playing catch-up?
Honestly, it's neck and neck. Companies like Reliance Jio are right there with them, investing heavily, building partnerships. It's incredibly dynamic, new tech, consumer demands changing all the time. Regulations play a role too.
So Airtel can't just sit back and relax.
Definitely not. Got to keep innovating, adapting, and staying ahead of those rivals.
High-stakes chess match. What are some of the key moves Airtel's making to try and outmaneuver the competition?
Well, one of their big advantages is their network infrastructure. It's extensive. And they've got reach across a lot of different markets.
So they're leveraging that. They are. Focusing on providing that seamless 5G coverage in both urban and rural areas. They're also making a big deal about their commitment to security, reliability, which is a big selling point, especially for businesses.
Not just about speed, then. It's about trust.
Exactly. And accessibility.
Powerful differentiators when everyone's trying to stand out. Can't forget about the human element, though. How is Airtel actually making sure these 5G offerings are, relevant to people's lives? Are they just focused on businesses, or is this something the average person will actually benefit from?
Right. It's not just about the tech itself, it's about the impact. And it seems like Airtel gets that. They're developing applications and services that address real-world needs, improving healthcare access, making education more, well, more immersive with tech. And entertainment, of course. Got to make that more interactive.
So 5G isn't just a speed upgrade. It's supposed to actually improve our lives.
That's the idea. And honestly, it's a smart approach, especially in a market like India, but it's not without challenges. Well, one thing that worries me is the potential for a digital divide.
Hmm.
As they roll out all these fancy 5G services, how do they make sure everyone has access, regardless of where they live, their income, all that?
Yeah, access to technology is crucial these days for education, healthcare, just participating in society.
Mhm.
If they're serious about leveraging 5G for good, they can't leave anyone behind. What steps are they taking to address this? Are they working with the government, community organizations?
That's a good question. I'd need to dig a bit deeper into that. I've seen some initiatives expanding internet access in rural areas, digital literacy programs, that kind of thing. But is it enough? I'm not so sure.
Something to watch closely for sure. The potential of 5G is exciting, but
Yeah.
it needs to come with a commitment to inclusivity, social responsibility. It's crazy how fast technology changes, right? Like just a few years ago, 4G was the big thing. Now everyone's all about 5G, the next revolution or whatever. Makes you wonder what happens to the regular mobile network as all this 5G stuff takes over. Does it just become obsolete, like dial-up internet?
That's a great question. It's something a lot of people are thinking about. But the truth is, the existing network, it's not going away anytime soon. It's more like, think of 5G as this, like super highway for data. Handles tons of info, crazy fast speeds.
Okay, I'm following.
But
Yeah.
you still need those local roads, those smaller streets, to connect everything to that super highway. Individual houses, businesses, all that.
So the existing network is like the feeder system, channeling data to and from the 5G superhighway.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But wouldn't it become a bottleneck eventually? I mean, 5G is so much faster, has so much more bandwidth.
It could, yeah. That's why telecom companies are, well, they're working on that, upgrading their infrastructure, optimizing it, making sure it can handle the demands of 5G. There's all sorts of fancy technology involved. Massive MIMO, carrier aggregation. It gets pretty technical.
Uh-huh. You can explain that. It like normal human terms. What does this actually mean for the average person using their phone?
Okay, imagine you're at, I don't know, a huge concert or something. Everyone's trying to upload videos, photos all at the same time.
The network's probably going to crash.
Right, in the past, probably.
Nah.
Slow speeds, drop connections, the whole deal. But with these upgrades, the network can basically handle all that traffic better. It's smarter, more efficient.
So it's like a traffic management system for data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prevents those data jams, keeps things running smoothly.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But still, isn't 5G eventually just going to like replace the whole thing anyway?
Not necessarily. Remember, 5G rollout takes time. It's not going to be everywhere all at once,
Yeah.
especially in like rural areas.
Makes sense.
So that existing network, it's still crucial for providing connectivity in those places.
Like a safety net, making sure everyone stays connected while 5G catches up.
Mm-hmm.
So the takeaway here is the mobile network as we know it, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's going to change, adapt, but it'll work alongside 5G to create a more connected world.
Exactly. And it's not just about the tech, it's about how we use it too, how our behavior changes.
Yeah.
As 5G becomes more common, we'll see a ton of new devices, apps, services, things that really take advantage of what it can do, and that'll push things even further. More innovation, more investment.
Like a snowball effect.
Yeah, exactly. Opens up a ton of opportunities. But like we talked about before, got to make sure those opportunities are available to everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. Can't forget about that. Technology is a powerful tool, but it only really matters if it's used to empower people, strengthen communities.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Global expansion, financial deep dives, the 5G race, even the fate of good old mobile networks.
It's been quite the journey.
And it's fascinating to see how a company like Bharti Airtel is navigating it all.
They are. It's a company to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Definitely. And hey, this is just the start. There's a ton more info in those documents you guys sent. We've laid the groundwork. Now it's up to you to keep digging.
Happy exploring.
And until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep diving deep.